I think hypnosis, a lot of it is bullshit because you are just saying a bunch of words, making people believe that something is real, and it's just a bunch of fancy marketing. And how it would be wrapped up, it would be Mike Tyson did it, or these really talented people that would have been successful regardless did hypnosis. You'd pick on the one thing that favors you and say, oh, it's because of that.
Yeah, it favors me, but the question is why am I doing this in the first place?
How can you quantify results and then sell services that you can't quantify? Today's guest is a hypnotist. He's been traveling around the world and brainwashing entrepreneurs to make millions. Also, he claims,
I work with entrepreneurs to get them from where they are now to where they want to be, whether that's making more money, having more confidence, being better in relationships. With hypnosis, I go into someone's mind, just like a surgeon. I remove that limitation from their mind so that they can get to where they want to go 10 times quicker and easier. The biggest ones are fear of failure and fear of rejection.
what you're doing is you're selling something that you can't measure, that you can't prove.
Well, you can measure it and you can prove it.
Today's guest is a hypnotist. He's been traveling around the world and brainwashing entrepreneurs to make millions. Also, he claims, I'm skeptical, I'm also going to challenge him, I'm going to debate with him, but also I'm going to give him a chance to say his side. Maybe he has all these skills and he can actually help you, or maybe it's just a bunch of garbage. You'll have to actually watch the podcast to find out. Ebrahim, it's really nice to have you here. I just want you to explain what you do. Many people would misunderstand hypnosis and not understand what it does, how it works. What is it that you do?
I work with entrepreneurs to get them from where they are now to where they want to be, whether that's making more money, having more confidence, being better in relationships. It's mostly entrepreneurs, so I'm specifically a CEO hypnotist. You're probably going to ask, what is hypnosis? How do you define that?
Yeah.
It's simply just a brainwave state, okay? So right now, we're in a brainwave state called beta for the scientific people out there. As children, we're in something called theta, which is basically just a relaxed state. So when you're in hypnosis, you're relaxed. When you're relaxed, your mind can be rewired. When your mind is rewired, we can remove, say, a limiting belief that might be stopping you. Maybe it's fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of success. What will other people think about me? These are the common things that people are held back by. With hypnosis, I go into someone's mind, just like a surgeon. I remove that limitation from their mind so that they can get to where they want to go 10 times quicker and easier.
And what's like a common limiting belief someone has?
The biggest ones are fear of failure and fear of rejection. And so, or fear of other people's judgment, okay? Because if you fail in silence in your room by yourself, do you really care? Nah, it's whatever, right? You just get on with the next day. But what you care about is, how do I look in front of other people? How will those people perceive me? It's the number one thing that holds people back. I work a lot of info guys, similar to yourself. And whenever they're struggling with content, it's because they're too focused on me. The number one fear in the world is public speaking in the Western world. And the reason why people have that is because they're concerned about how am I being perceived? Am I going to slip up? Am I going to say something wrong? Am I going to be judged? Instead of, how can I help this person? How can I provide value to this person? So all the best athletes and CEOs use hypnosis or hypnotists. Take Mike Tyson, for example, famous example. Since he was 13 years old, he used a hypnotist to become, essentially what his hypnotist would say is, you are formless, you do not exist, all that exists is the goal. And we've all seen what Mike Tyson goes and does in the ring.
It's really easy to say about formless. It reminds me of like Bruce Lee. And when Bruce Lee used to say like, you're just like water. And Bruce Lee was quite unique because he would combine Eastern and Western philosophy. So he would have two different sides. And when I look at both types of philosophy, because I absolutely love philosophy, so I love both different types of philosophy. Let's say it was to look at either religion, or you could look at Taoism, Eastern philosophy, or even Stoicism, or more modern days philosophies. Does this connect into what you do at all?
I mean, it can, but not really, to be honest. I just take all of the dogma out of it. I just use hypnosis as a mechanism, okay? So my background was running marketing companies, doing 7 figures with that. All I care about is, how can I get the result for the person in the shortest period of time? Hypnosis is just the mechanism I personally use, because after trying basically everything you can imagine, this just gets the result.
And we can go ahead through this podcast or through this talk and really learn more about hypnosis and the deep dive of every different method in LPQ and all the different things that you do. Or I'd like to challenge you and think about the people who are very resistant like me around these things. What are their darkest thoughts? What are the thoughts that they have that they don't want to say? So if I like throw those at you,
Yeah,
like, is that okay?
100%.
So if I said, like, if you looked at your Instagram bio and it said, I help entrepreneurs make millions. But what you actually do is hypnosis, like you explained, and you reprogram their brain and rewire them. Is the claim about saying, I'm going to help you make millions, is that connected to removing their obstacles? Because why can't every therapist say that? Why can't a doctor say, I'm going to help you make millions because I'm going to give you paracetamol and your headache's going to go?
Yep.
How can you connect those things?
So here's the interesting thing. I haven't been doing this publicly for that long, right? I started this in January, okay? So this business grew very quickly by most people's normal perception. Now I get hypnotists reach out to me every single day and say, how do you do what you do? How do you charge the money you charge? How do you get the results that you do? I've been doing this for 10 years. So how can you claim that you do that? There's one simple thing that you or if anybody else can take away from this, and science shows this, the number one factor that determines success is self-belief. Self-belief, okay? What you are selling in your business, sales solutions, you're not actually selling sales solutions or when you're on that sales call. The person is buying the certainty that you can solve their problem to help them basically be more successful in their business, which is going to help them be more successful in their life. You're selling certainty. So that's exactly what I'm selling. People say this to me all the time. I was on a podcast just like this a few months ago in Cape Town. Guy was making 50K per month in his coaching business. He was stuck at an invisible ceiling for 6 months in a row. Every month, 50K, 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 never could go above it. I hypnotized him just like this on the podcast for 5 minutes. Next month, made 120K in his business. He didn't change anything in his business.
But could I not just claim that was placebo, for example?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Placebo is the same thing, bro. Every single drug is tested against the placebo. The placebo, guess what? Gets almost the same results, sometimes higher results than the actual drug. They did this in war times where they'd give war veterans morphine, right? They'd have their legs blown off, so they'd have to give them morphine. They ran out of morphine. Then what they do, the doctor would come in and say, all right, I'm going to give you this morphine. Oh, now I feel better, but it was saline solution. So what happened is their belief, right? Because there was a perceived authority, which we can get into how this works specifically, you have to trust and believe what you're hearing. It has to be somebody who you perceive as an authority to believe it, then makes your actual physiology change. So if it can change, if you can physiologically change, in an example like that, do you think you can get rid of some limiting beliefs in your business?
So if it's about trust and belief and your methods are so good, how can someone have the trust and belief that you won't go into their brain and do something you're not supposed to do?
Yeah.
How can, there's no documentation, they can't take you to court for it, they can't, you can't have a litigation against someone who's like, he might have hypnotized me this way. Yeah. Like, isn't it putting that person in a very vulnerable state if you are as good as you are? 100%
is vulnerable, but the reality is vulnerability is strength. We've been conditioned to believe that being vulnerable is like weakness as a man. That's not true. And here's the thing, you shouldn't just trust me based on what I say. You should do due diligence, you should do research, you should look at what other people have said who have worked with me. I'm not saying you should just blindly trust me. I don't blindly trust people, so I don't expect other people to. But that's the whole point, right? You kind of follow along, you look at it. Initially, you're not going to believe it's true, just like me. When I was hypnotized 11 years ago, I was like, what is this random bullcrap that I'm walking into? I was the most skeptical guy. So I understand that. But that stopped me from growing quicker. And here's the thing is like, skeptical people are never the most successful people. Optimistic people, and this is science-backed, make more money. It's quite simple as that. And the most successful people I work with, we both know William Brown, right? You know, I've worked with Will. When I spoke to him about it, do you know what his reaction was? He was like, yeah, sure. What have I got to lose? Let me try it. And then guess what? He goes and hits his record month next month. He gets into the best shape of his life because he was just open-minded. And so I've noticed this trend between like, there's the beginning people who are at zero, who are just like, I'll do anything just to get some success, right? And then there's this gap in the middle of people who think they know everything, like middle market. That's why I don't work with these people and I was one of these people as well, because you kind of think, I know how it all works. And then you get people who are top 0.1% who are all doing this stuff.
Do you class middle market as a certain revenue or a certain way of thinking? Like, how do you?
I mean, it's usually correlated with revenue, but not always. Like some people's mindset is just way ahead of their time. So I work with 20-year-olds who, you know, they're doing 7 figures, but they've got like that billionaire mindset and they are absolute psychopaths on it, and they will become billionaires, right? But they're not there yet, but they've got that mindset. So it's not always just revenue, but oftentimes it's correlated.
So do you feel like you could speak to someone for an hour and think this person will be successful?
100%.
So what is it that you see in them?
Self-belief, man. It's literally self-belief, and it's that belief in that vision. Okay, take Shelby, because a lot of people know her. I've done some work with her. Immediately when you meet her, you feel how much belief and certainty she has behind what she's doing. It's not just about the money for her. She's genuinely feels like she is on a mission and she is fulfilling this vision. Every single great person had a big vision, and they feel like they were doing something greater than themselves. So they believed in something so much. This is why religion works, because it's not about the person, it's about looking at something greater, right? So you have to have something to believe in. To be honest, most people are sheep and actually want to be sheep, and that will trigger your audience and my audience, because we're not like that. But most people are, and we just kind of want to be told, bless you. And the reality is like people are just looking for permission. Like, for example, we were just at this mastermind here with Brian, actually in this room. And the reality is most people knew what they should be doing, right? They asked a question and they were basically just looking for confirmation to say, yes, that's the right thing. Was there any magic new tactic or strategy or, yeah, sure, there were some things, but was there really? No, it was just someone of authority, Brian, or when you were speaking about sales or when I was speaking about hypnosis, just saying, yes, this is the right thing. Go and do it.
So if I stripped away all of your knowledge around hypnosis and you were talking to people without those skills about being successful, what kind of things would you do with them?
If you stripped away my knowledge
of hypnosis,
what would I do with?
Yeah, so like you're just talking to entrepreneurs and you're being encouraging or you're being really helpful.
Yeah.
Like what I'm trying to work out is
what's the difference between that and hypnosis? So I used to coach many business owners before doing hypnosis, right? So I ran an agency, then I coached people on how to scale agencies, and then business owners in general. And the reason I got into hypnosis is because I realized that people would always have the same problems, and it was never how do I run an ad or how do I get a lead. They knew what to do. It was always some mental problem, okay? So I would coach them through that, and I would say X, Y, and Z. And sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't work. The only difference between the hypnosis part is we're changing the brainwave state that you're in. Because when you're in a normal brainwave state, aka it's called beta, what we're in right now, is you're only tapping into 0.1% of your mind, the conscious mind. When you go into hypnosis, you tap into the 99.9% of your mind, which is the theta brainwave state, alpha brainwave state, which is where you can be reprogrammed immediately. That's why you see people, maybe even at the mastermind, the first one you came to, like, I can't remember what everyone's results were, but it's always the case of someone's like, I can't even remember what my problem was, what my limiting belief was. Imagine if you just didn't even remember what the things that were holding you back were.
You know something? I actually don't remember it.
Yeah.
And I will say I'm highly resistant to hypnosis, not only because of like just thinking about it in a certain way, but also, look, I grew up in a Muslim house, and a lot of these things you think, is this black magic?
Yep.
Is this voodoo? Is this something that's mind altering? And we put all these labels on it. So I think I'm just highly resistant to all of that stuff.
Yeah, so it's the framing of it, because in your mind, and I also grew up in a Muslim household, that's the way it's perceived, but it's just the perception of it, right? I specifically chose to define and identify as a hypnotist for that reason, because it is divisive and it cuts through. When it comes down to it, it's just a tool. It's nothing to do with religion or spirituality or any of those things. It's literally just improving your mind so you operate better, so you get better results. And loads of my clients are Christian or Muslim, and they always ask me the same thing. And at the end of the day, if your mind is clearer, if you're thinking more positively, ultimately that's only going to bring you closer to your God or whatever you believe in.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to make this really actionable and really helpful for a lot of people who listen to this. And let's say a lot of people that we attract in our business are amazing marketers, but they're not great leaders. And look, the podcast is called Lead to Win. My business is all about leadership, and you asked about vision and mission. My mission is all around leadership and building incredible sales leaders. And specifically, sales leaders are people who can drive the performance of salespeople, which is very different to operational or the types of people, which are usually performance-based and having good amounts of emotional and social intelligence to drive their performance to achieve a goal. If you was to talk to those marketers or those people who are great at marketing but they're not good at managing people, how would you approach it differently in terms of making them great leaders?
So that's a lot of my clients, right? They're guys who have made online money in e-com or in an agency or in an info or something like that, but they're not good at managing team. To be honest, I've been one of those people as well. So I probably still am to a degree. So I know what that's like. Ultimately, it's just looking at, okay, what's the goal? Where do you want to get to? So let's say you're at 100K per month right now and you want to get to 1 million a month, let's say as an example. Okay, well, what do you need in order to what needs to change in order for you to get that goal? What are the actions? Well, part of what you're going to need is a really good team. Okay, well, how do you get a really good team? Well, okay, yes, you need to be a good leader, but before that, you need a big vision. Because your vision needs to be so big that people fit within that vision. Because if you want A players, guess what? They know they can go and do their own thing. They can be successful doing that. They know their worth. So they need to see how what they want to get personally, because we're all selfish at the end of the day. Selfish Gene, Richard Dawkins, great book, everyone should read it. So if your vision isn't big enough, isn't clear enough, because you don't see it clearly enough, how's anybody else going to buy into that? It needs to be so big and so exciting. This is why, honestly, I get top tier talent reach out to me every single day to say, can I work for you? And I'm like, I'm sorry, no. I just have an assistant and a sound engineer. It's not because I'm so great. It's because they love the vision and the mission. And people will always do more for something greater that they can believe in. Remember, like we said earlier with the religion example. So as a leader, that's the best leaders I see. Bro, I work with leaders right now. I'll give you a tangible example. There's this client I had. They're an AI startup. I took equity in their company. They're scaling very rapidly. It's a young guy. He's like 21, 22 years old. He's got top tier developers on his team, insane level of talent. They have basically starting with no money and just an idea, right? Now they're raising millions of pounds. They've got the best team based on nothing. And the only reason why is because that 22-year-old kid was able to paint the vision, and sell that vision. And then because of that, guess what? His team are working 12 hours a day, around the clock, 7 days a week, because not only do they believe in that vision, but it's then structured correctly. So they have incentives, obviously, because if the business does better, they do better. And that's it, man. That really is the difference. And the hypnosis part, again, just fits in by being able to articulate and translate that vision better, first of all, to yourself and then to other people. Okay,
so if you was to coach me for a second, so I'm a skeptic, and I was to share, let's say, I love leadership and I want to be able to share something I feel quite vulnerable about, and I share that with you. How would you work through it with someone so someone can see your level of expertise? Yeah. So let's say something that I hate the word anxiety, because I hate it because people use it the wrong way, and I think people are soft. But then I recently was speaking to someone, and she was saying to me, what's something that you're struggling with at the moment? And I said, well, a lot of it is when I'm not working, I feel guilty for not working. And she was like, why do you feel guilty? And I was thinking about, well, I should always be working. And she said that's like a sign of anxiety, that you should always feel like you're doing something and always moving forward. But my goal is to be, like, everyone online talks about how much harder they want to work, how much more they want to do. I actually want to become someone who is just peaceful and still. And my goal is to be still. And something that I aspire for is I would love to have incredible businesses, and let's say it's worth 100 million, a billion, whatever it's worth, but in my mind is still. But my mind is not still. My mind is busy and full of guilt. How would you find the angle to solve this issue?
So the goal, just so I'm clear, is to make billion-dollar companies and also have peace and a still mind. Would you say that's key? Okay. So
if I can just put a caveat in there.
Yeah.
I feel like the superpower, and people would say I'm wrong, the reason I have that guilt at 11 p.m. at night or at 9 p.m. at night, or even if I go for a dinner and I've got that anxiety in my mind, I feel like that is the superpower, because someone who doesn't have that won't be driven. So I feel like that is the superpower to have that.
Yes. So you are like so many of my clients who are very successful at a relatively young age, and every single one of them goes through this. Okay. I was just speaking about this with Nick. Maybe you know Nick from Dubai. Young kid, makes like 200K per month profit, 21, 22 years old. And he said the exact same thing to me. And I wake up, this is him. I wake up and immediately run to my phone and I check the messages, and I'm just looking for what's wrong. I'm looking for whatever fire there could be. I'm looking for a client to respond to who might be unhappy, so I can immediately get back to them, okay? Maybe you or your audience can relate to that. And I used to have that when I was running an agency, right? Okay. On one level, that is helpful because why? It's making you operate your business well and make sure that you're not missing anything, right? But the equivalent of that is it's like using a fuel source that would be, say, like coal. Say this is a fireplace. We're throwing coal into this fireplace. It produces energy. It heats up the room. Okay, great. But if I keep throwing coal into this fireplace day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, what's going to happen? This room's going to be filled with smoke. Now, guess what? You and I are both breathing in smoke. Guess what? We do that for too long, we're going to get lung cancer. We're going to die early. We're going to get hospital bills. Maybe we took a few fast steps forward, but it's going to be 10 steps back. And how many people do you see who make money and then have all these health issues, have a midlife crisis? You've got Alex Hormozy turning to meditation now. This is not a coincidence. This is a pattern that repeats time and time again. So if we know that that's not the best way, what would be a better way? Well, if we take the energy example, what's Elon Musk doing? Renewable energy, electricity, solar power. Guess what? These are taking over the world right now. Why? Because it's a better fuel source. So the guilt would be accustomed to using the coal. And the peace would be accustomed to the renewable energy resource, right? Because the more relaxed you are, the more effective you are. It's just the problem is that as entrepreneurs, particularly as self-starters, what happens is you come from a background where you don't have any money. Your parents are installing terrible beliefs in you, not by their own fault, but that's because, that's the environment they grew up with. My dad didn't have shoes when he was a kid, so he just did the best he could. Money doesn't grow on trees. I remember one time I told him, but doesn't trees make paper and paper makes money? Never say that to your Indian dad, by the way. You get the backhand.
It's good for you, though. It's good for you. It's conditioning.
Well, it can be. It can be, right? But so if we know that that's not the most effective way, what is a more effective way? Okay. First of all, question, and this is practical. This is how I would coach if you're a client. Where does that guilt come from?
The need to be ahead.
Okay. Why do you need to be ahead?
To be able to provide, have my vision come to life, to be able to see and fulfill all of my potential, which I believe I'm not doing.
Yep. Okay, so it's the need to be ahead. Language, first of all, is the gateway into the subconscious mind. So the words that and you know this from sales, right? The words that people use tell you a lot about where they're actually at. So what is need? Where is that coming from? Think about it. If I need to do something, what's that? That's coming from scarcity, it's coming from lack. If I need something, right? I would immediately change that, and this is how you can start to self-hypnotize yourself and reprogram your mind. The words need, should, or must, the first thing I do is I delete that from my client's vocabulary. You're not allowed to use those words.
Need, should, or must.
Delete them, because they're all coming from scarcity, okay, or like a lack or a lower place. Change them to, I choose to, or I get to, or I would love to do that, right? When I came onto this podcast with you, I'd love to do that, man. It's great. I don't need to do this because I need to get content from you so we can build our personal brands and get clients from it. No, it's like, I choose to do this. It's fun. I would love to. And guess what? It contributes to that overall vision, right? So sometimes you'll end up doing the same action, but the place it's coming from internally is completely different. So whilst it might not look like anything changes externally, everything has changed because your state, aka the peace that you now feel, is what you're going to be experiencing, right? So the guilt is essentially, the guilt and shame are the two lowest states and emotions that you can feel, okay? They're very, very heavy, okay? So if you ever feel like you're having resistance to getting towards where you want to go, it's usually because you have one of these more heavy states that you're operating from, which will come from programming, typically between 0 to 8 years old. So maybe that was installed by your father or your conditions growing up or people around you or schooling system. Okay, cool. We need to remove that first of all. And it's like if you have a rubber band, you pull that rubber band back, all you need to do is let that thing go and it will fly forward. That's what this is like if you just let go of that guilt, because now it doesn't need to be your drive, be your energy source anymore like the coal. The reason why people have resistance to doing that is because you would say, yeah, but that's the thing that's getting me out of bed in the morning, right? You're actually addicted to that state and emotion because you haven't experienced a better way yet. But if you think, have you ever just taken some time off, gone to a beach or something, or been on a holiday, and suddenly you just have this like insane level of clarity, this energy come through, you just feel amazing. Yeah. Well, you don't have to go on a holiday to do that, man. You can just give yourself that every single day.
Okay, that's amazing. It just makes me think, how is this social have have you been programmed socially, or is it like self? Is it like your family? Is it an environmental thing? Is it like you've done this to yourself by thinking this way? Why do you think most people have the need, the want, the should, and aren't, I would love to?
It mostly comes from external conditioning, right? So there are people who grew up with parents who didn't have these limiting beliefs, who installed crazy good levels of confidence, self-worth into them. They do exist. They're very rare. My kids will be like that. They're going to be badasses when it comes to that, right? But most of us don't. Most of us don't have that luxury, right? So I view it as our responsibility to change that so we can pass this on to the next generation. But mostly it's from like if you didn't grow up with parents who were, and it's not just about the money, by the way. Money is one factor, but guess what? You can be rich and still have terrible mindset, right? So most of it's from parents, schooling systems, anybody who you view as an authority, who you trust and believe. You got to look at, okay, does that person actually have the results that I want to have? The reason why I've grown relatively quickly and why people listen to me is because I've actually created results, not just in clients' lives, but in my own life. So I'm walking the walk. So you have to look at, okay, is this what this person's saying even true? And do they have the outcome that I want to have? And most of the time when you look back at where these beliefs came from, they don't. They just came from, say, a parent, and you as a younger version of yourself, as a 7-year-old, well, of course you're going to listen to your parent. They're the person who looks after you, right? But you're not that child anymore. It's just you're still running on that 8-year-old operating system, but now you're running a 7-figure business. It makes sense, right? It's like you wouldn't have a version 2 iPhone right now. You wouldn't be able to operate. And that's kind of how most people's mental program is right now.
Okay, got you. And okay, so I find this stuff fascinating because the thing I'm really in a pursuit of is improvement. I like improving. And it sometimes doesn't even feel like a need, that area. That feels like a curiosity. And I'm the most curious person I feel like I've ever met. I've not met anyone more curious than me. Like whether even if I went on a date, the person will be like, you're so curious. Even if I meet someone, they're like, you're so curious about everything. So I think there's a curiosity and there's an optimism. And if you have those two things, those are the things that you need to be successful. And I think you could have both of those things, but then have things that stop you, these mental obstacles or limiting beliefs, as you would call them. I think you removing them, whether it's real or whether it's placebo, is really helpful for someone. Because
real and placebo are the same thing.
Okay, explain what you mean.
If you get the result, it's real.
Yeah.
All that matters is the result.
Yeah.
Right? So if I do a session with you, I remove those limiting beliefs, and then you then get X better result, you make more money in your business, you're a better leader, you're more confident or whatever, that's real because you got the result.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's placebo or not.
Like an honest question, you will at times get given people's, all the weight that they're carrying. Mm-hmm. Does that weigh heavy on you?
No, it doesn't, because for me, the reason I don't have to do this. I already had businesses that run well before this. The reason I do this is because for me, when you talked about growth and, wanting to just improve, this is what gives me the fulfillment in the same way. So helping other people grow and improve is what is the best drug for me. The amount of satisfaction I get from when someone pays me versus when they tell me, hey, we just got this, I just changed my life, incomparable. That gives me 10 times more. Like Adam, one of the guys I introduced you to, he was not doing well in his business. He was going down for the last 12 months. He had a few limiting beliefs. He tried mindset coaching. He tried all these different things, business coaches, and he couldn't change. And we did one session. We said, okay, you're going to make 100K pounds per month profit. You're going to move into your dream apartment. You're going to get into the best shape of your life. He was way off that. 30 days time, did 242K revenue, is in the best shape of his life. The call we had, he's in his dream apartment in the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. That gives me 1,000,000 times more fulfillment than the money that he paid me. And that's why I do what I do. So no, it's never heavy, man, because all of the things people have gone through, 99% of the time, I've gone through my own version of it. So I've moved through that, so I know how it feels. But that doesn't make me take it on as heavy. It's just part of the journey.
And what would be your vision for like where you're trying to grow? What are you trying to do?
So I don't try and do anything. I just do it. There's no such thing as try means.
That's like a foreign concept to me.
Try just means fail. Try means you're not doing it.
Okay, I thought you meant effort. I thought you're doing. You're not trying. That's
Yeah,
what
I'm
you mean.
doing.
Yeah.
Like that's another thing to remove. Remove the word try. Because
Yeah.
if you're trying to hit a new PR in the gym, that means you're not hitting the PR. You're either hitting the PR or you're not hitting the PR. Yoda said it best. You either do or you don't, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's just working right now for this next year. It's working with the top entrepreneurs and athletes in the world. And the reason I want to do that is because one, it gives me a lot of satisfaction, but it's also a top-down effect, right? So I see everything. You can either go bottom up or top down. I work with one entrepreneur. That then affects all of their team, affects all of their clients, affects all of their families. So me helping one person can help 10,000, 100,000 people. So that's the plan right now, and just helping as many of those people as possible.
Really nice. Where can people find you? How can they, if they want to work with you, so let's say they are struggling with something, what is the best way for them to even consider or start working with you?
Just send me a message on Instagram at Ebrahim. We can chat. I can send you some free stuff to get started and go from there.
Is that it? Just at Ebrahim?
Yeah.
No surnames?
You knew that, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, bro.
Well, I've been looking for the at Usman. I've not been able to get it. Maybe I need to.
I'll give you my plug, bro. That's all we
Okay,
got. Yeah.
amazing. Well, there's whoever the guy is with Usman, we need to get his username. All right, it's been really good speaking to you. I find it really fascinating what you do. And I think I want to educate myself on these topics more than just being a skeptic. So I'm eager to find out more.
Sweet, man. Thanks for
Thank
having me
you.
on.
Thank you. I'll do an intro and outro. Was that 30 minutes?
That was 30 minutes.
Okay, all right, sounds good. I wanted to do a shorter one, and then I'm going to do a nice intro and outro as well. And then if you want any pictures, or we'll take a thumbnail as well. So like if you, okay, sounds good.
Should we look like we're arguing in it? Or what do you want?
Yeah, we'll do one where we argue.
Or we can go like this. We could do like a face
Let me
off.
think. Maybe we can just record a little segment where I really attack you. I was trying to think of the attack.
Bro, you were way too light on me, bro. I
went too easy.
was expecting you to come over,
Okay.
like throw the mic out the way. I was expecting some boxing.
All right, you know
gloves.
what? We're just gonna. I'll do a cut. I'll do a trim, and I'm gonna go back in on you because we got another 10 minutes.
Am I replying to this or no?
No, you're replying to that.
Okay.
I'm gonna think of a vicious attack. 1 second. Serious face.
Scene.
Thinking of the angle. It's a chess game. Can you play chess?
Yeah, of course, come play chess.
We'll have a game sometime.
Yeah.
We'll see how good your hypnosis is. Or your reading skills. Let me think of this angle. What would you say is the number one thing what stops people from buying from you?
Well, I think if you just want to go down like an angle, just be like, it's obviously bullshit, it's like obviously fake or something like that, right? Because that's what people, like that's what an average person thinks it's just not real.
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, surely they don't just like go to sleep, like it can't be real, right?
Yeah,
That's what most
okay.
people think.
So we've jumped back into the podcast because I had unfinished business. I was leaving the conversation with a few skeptical thoughts, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to jump back in and I want to ask some more questions. So Ebrahim, I want to put the heat on you for a sec, and I want to just say, I think hypnosis, a lot of it is bullshit because you are just saying a bunch of words, making people believe that something is real, and it's just a bunch of fancy marketing. And how it would be wrapped up, it would be Mike Tyson did it, or these really talented people that would have been successful regardless did hypnosis. Mm-hmm. And if there was 10,000 people in the world that did 10,000 techniques and one of them was hypnosis, you would pick on those people and say, well, they did hypnosis, therefore hypnosis works. So why would someone even consider hypnosis, and how could you even claim that it's real?
Success leaves clues, right? So when you say about Mike Tyson and all these successful people doing it, there's a reason that they're doing it. And there's a reason that
they would have done many things. So Mike Tyson also got bullied by a customer, or he was also from the ghetto. He was also from all these things. So you'd pick on the one thing that favors you and say, oh, it's because of that.
Yeah, it favors me, but the question is why am I doing this in the first place? Why am I not being a bullying coach or whatever the other things you say, right? Because this is the thing that works. It's just looking at patterns, right? You can take, or even take Tom Aspinall. Why is the now heavyweight champion of the world saying exactly the same thing? Look, it's not to say hypnosis is the only thing. Of course, you have to train hard, you have to work hard, you have to have a good diet, you have to sleep well. All of these things are also true. It's just hypnosis is also true.
Okay, well, if someone worked with us, if their revenue doesn't go up, we've not done our job.
Agree.
And their revenue has to go up because of their sales numbers increasing. With yours, it's almost like, you know what, you didn't grow, but it's just because you're not there yet. Or mentally, you just didn't accept what we told you. So how can you quantify results and then sell services that you can't quantify?
Bro, literally just yesterday, I did a hypnosis with a sales team of 8 people who was at the mastermind that we just went to. He just messaged me saying, bro, that was the craziest day the team have ever had. He's going to send me the results today. I've done this many, many times with salespeople. So it is quantifiable, and ultimately it's on me, but it's also on them. Just in the same way, it's like you can give someone all of the systems, you can put in all the processes and do everything from a sales perspective, but guess what? If they're not running ads or not doing marketing, there's going to be no leads for those salespeople. So it's always partly on you and partly on the customer.
So who is usually more successful? People with pain or people without pain?
It's a very interesting question, actually. I was speaking with Rue, my health coach, about this morning. I think reality is pain is the biggest motivator and always will be.
So by you removing that pain, and
I didn't say I was removing the pain.
So if you are removing the feel of that pain, or you make them feel...
Do you want to know how I start my day? Everyone always asks me, what's your morning routine? I hypnotize myself every single day, and there's 2 paths. You've experienced kind of the light version of this. There's 2 paths I go down. There's the version of myself, if I don't show up as the best version of myself today, and what that pathway looks like. That's a painful pathway, because I get to the end of my life, I have regret for not doing the things that I should have done. That is pain. And every single day, I put myself in that pain. I put my clients in that pain. But then guess what? It's not about staying in that pain. It's saying, okay, this is reality. This is what happens if I continue acting this way. I use that pain as a driver to then go on the right path.
So would you say that you're the modern day version of a snake oil salesman? Because what you're doing is you're selling something that you can't measure, that you can't prove, but if it works, it's down to you.
Well, you can measure it and you can prove it, because hypnosis there's unlimited science papers, like research papers, that show the effect of...
Can you give me an example of a research paper?
Yeah, so like, for example, they just did hypnosis studies on all of these fighters, right?
I'm willing to bet a lot of the boards that run these hypnosis studies are promoting hypnosis.
Not necessarily. I mean, we can get into papers and research and all that kind of stuff. We can link some in there.
I actually don't believe much research, because you could favor any test to go in your favor. If you think about all of these tests regarding vaccines,
yep.
How many of them were favorable at the time, but then they're saying, oh, they're not favorable. So every test could be turned and looked at a certain way.
I agree. Like, statisticians lie with numbers, right? At the end of the day, it's like, that's why for me, it's like, I don't lead with that. I just lead with what the result is. The reason why I have so much conviction on this compared to other things that I've done is because I have seen the result every single time and time again with myself and with clients. So it's like, don't ask me, just ask the people who have done this.
Okay. And the people who have done it, the people who have not been successful, what types of people are they?
So people ask me this all the time. It's like, say I have a client, I was a client here in Miami, 23-year-old, makes hundreds of millions of dollars. He doesn't want to be hypnotized to make more money. He's printing, but he had a phobia of flying, okay? So 10-minute session, overcome his fear of flying. And he asked me, yeah, but like, how long will this last? And I said, look, it will last as long as you allow it to. If you then go and program yourself and do all the things that put you in that state in the first place, thinking the same way, acting the same way, not making any changes, sure, you'll eventually reprogram your mind in a negative state. But isn't that
a way of saying, hey man, I've done this thing, I've charged you loads of money, it might not work. If it doesn't work, it's your fault? No,
because that's why I work with people over a period of time as well,
okay.
Right? It takes, whilst change happens in an instant, if you want sustainable change continuously going up, we work together over a period of time.
Okay. Well, look, I like challenging people. I like challenging people because you speak about self-belief, and by someone being challenged, their self-belief is tested and their conviction is tested. Look, when we look at Andy Elliott, the reason why he does so well is because of conviction.
Yep.
I don't believe he does so well because of his sales skills. I believe it's conviction. And I do think if you do anything with conviction, people will believe it. This is why Tate is so good. This is why Hormozi is so good, because it's all conviction. And you have that same conviction inside you, which is why I think people will be drawn to it.
I'll just say this last one thing. When I work with a lot of salespeople, you have a lot of people who like sales in your audience. That is the number one thing I help them with. It's literally just conviction. I'm not teaching them tactics and all the stuff you'd be able to teach them because I'm not as good at it. The reason why I'm a good salesman is because it's not just conviction, it's actually believing in what you are selling. And to me, it's a moral obligation if I can, like we've had this conversation a few times back and forward. If I was just running a business I didn't care about, I wouldn't keep having these conversations with you because I'd be like, oh, whatever, like on to the next one. But I know how much this would help you if you embraced it more. And I see it as a moral obligation to at least do my part to give you the information for you to then make the best decision for yourself. And I believe that's what the best salespeople do.
Incredible. Well, thank you for coming over and thank you for having my challenge as well.
Pleasure, bro.
I appreciate you. Thank you for listening to the Lead to Win podcast. That was at times fiery, but also, if I'm really honest, uncomfortable for me because I'm not used to talking about hypnosis and all these things I can't quantify and tangibly describe. If you've enjoyed the podcast or if you have some thoughts on your side and what you think about it, put it in the comments below and I'll catch you on the next one.